the question from the student starts as following. After saying Salaam alaikum, the student said, yes, the student says, can the Sheikh please distinguish between self and ego, or are they the same entities? For example, when Nabiullah Isa alayhi salam says, Inni Abdullah, I am the servant of Allah, I am the slave of Allah, is the I in this verse representative of the self, or is there small amounts of ego? Because he says I. Is the ego the result of mismanaged or uncontrolled nafs al-ammara? Finally, if one reaches the state of nafs al-mutma'inna, can they still have ego? I apologize if there are too many questions, but I just needed clarification on this notion. Jazakumullah khair.
This is a very good question. Ayatollah Motahari has a very good discussion about this in some of his books, like Ta'alim wa Tarbiyat dar Islam, Training and Education in Islam. Just in the last session, I think we discussed this, if I'm not mistaken, the last session of this. Every Sunday we have this course. So he says, on the one hand, there is emphasis on honoring yourself, on karama, on izzah, honor, dignity, not to polluting yourself. Allah says He has honored children of Adam, all these things. On the other hand, we say you have to resist against yourself. There is nafs ammara. You have to purify yourself. So even although we don't have it in the Quran or Hadith, but in spiritual literature, even sometimes they talk about, killing yourself. We have, fighting, but some, Sufis and Urafa, they use the language of, kushtan. You kill yourself. What does it mean? The answer is that there are two kinds of experience that we have. Sometimes we discover our true self, which is divine, which is godly. Nafakhtu fihi min ruhi. That one is very valuable. That is something which is better than the whole physical world. That is treasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is what, if you know your Lord. Ma'rifatul nafs leads to ma'rifatul Rabb. Man arafa nafsa faqad arafa Rabb. That's our true self. But then we have a pseudo self. Imagine if instead of true governor, true king, a rebel puts on the dress of the king and wants to rule the country, govern the country. Nafs ammare is not our true self. It is our mistake, our illusion, confusion, that our lower self or our animal self deceives us and presents itself as our real self, and we listen to it, we love it, because the true self sometimes asks you to do difficult things, but this one says, do whatever you like, keeps encouraging you to enjoy yourself, be free, whatever you want to do, everyone should serve you, don't respect rights of others, don't respect values, no boundaries should be limiting you. We think, oh, this is very good, this is me. Because the other one questions you, the other one disciplines you, the other one blames you if you do something wrong. Because he's a trainer, he's an instructor, wants you to grow. This one says, no, do whatever you like. Like, good friend and bad friend. A good friend is not always, giving you encouragement. A good friend sometimes makes you cry. صديقك الذي يبكيك. But how many people want a friend who is honest with them and makes them sometimes cry? Many people don't like such friends. Many people like friends that they say he's always with me and for me. What do you mean? Means no matter whatever I do, he always, encourages me. This is not a good friend. This is not an honest friend. So we have real one self, which is real, but there is also a pseudo self.
Thank you so much for that way of approaching that subject. We have a question on the stability of personality and the immateriality of knowledge, because we're proving the immateriality of the soul. So the student is asking, how does the argument of the stability of personality and the immateriality of knowledge account for occurrences that cause changes to both personality and knowledge? For example, brain trauma, dementia, schizophrenia, when the change generally occurs in early adulthood even. So in these instances, there may still be I, however, it possibly becomes radically different from the I that was in the past. And my apologies if I've misunderstood this theory. Thank you.
You're welcome. Every person who has mental, of course, health and well-being has this understanding of himself or herself that it's me, one person. I am one person. I can change. Of course, we change. We can, by passage of time, learn new things. We can, learn new skills. We have lots of experiences, lots of new relations. We can develop good habits, bad habits, acquire good qualities, bad qualities. We change, but one person is there. The identity is the same. It's not different person. It's the same person which go through changes. So, how can you have fixed person, in the sense that fixed identity, fixed personality? Not, I mean by personality, I mean personhood. The same person, despite all the changes, despite passage of time. Your knowledge of something which was 30, 40 years ago true remains the same. You can add to that knowledge, but it's not that because time has passed, the knowledge has to necessarily change. So, being one person and also being simple, this is another thing in that lesson, that although my body has right, left, top, bottom, but my personality, my identity doesn't have parts, is not divided, it doesn't have directions. You cannot say right side of myself. You can say right side of my body, right side of my head, right side of my brain, but not right side of my soul. So these three things show that we are not physical, we are not material beings, because we have things, we have qualities, properties which are not changeable, which are not divided, which don't have directions, physical directions.
Thank you very much, Sheikh Kareem.
May Allah bless.
Inshallah, this will cover us for the Q&A for today. And okay, so there is a question. Okay, so we have a question that we just want to take a look at. Please give me a second. The student has requested that we try to approach it, although it's in another place, because I'm going on the if the student can also send it to me via
Maybe we can have it for next week because time is short.
Yes. Okay, inshallah. I found the question, if we can take it.
Okay.
What is the relationship between ahkam al-khamsa and building one's moral character and spirituality? For instance, we have heard that on the one hand, some ulama give follow wajibat and abstain from muharramat as the main instruction. On the other hand, is it possible to fulfill this instruction at all without prior development and refinement of character? Can a person even recognize wajibat and muharramat if she or he is not developed from all sides? So what is the meaning of such instruction? Is this the end goal of refinement or the basis of refinement?
Yes, good question. In self-development, there's a paper about a breakdown of spirituality. So over there we said first step is to make sure you have proper aqaid. Second, to make sure that you do wajibat and avoid haram. Third is to acquire good traits of character and remove bad traits of character. And then we said fourth is to continue with remembrance of Allah. So ulama say to do wajibat and avoid haram as one big step, but not as the last step. So after aqaid, then you make sure you do wajibat and avoid haram. But this is not enough, as you said, you are right. Maybe someone suffers vicious traits of character still. Yeah, maybe you do all wajibat, avoid haram, but still you are a very selfish person. Because we sometimes, unfortunately, do things only physically. If you do salat properly, you cannot be selfish. But if you do salat according to the fiqh requirements, still you may be selfish. As many of us, after tens of years of saying prayer, still we have lots of problems. Or fasting. If we do fasting properly, لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ. But how many people fast and are muttaqi? Not everyone. The minimum is to say not everyone. So doing wajibat and avoiding haram is a major step, but it's not last step.
Sorry, I thought I was speaking on mute. Thank you very much, Sheikhna. And given that we're approaching the 10 o'clock mark, inshallah, we'll do this for the questions this time. And you guys are recommended to ask the questions, follow up, inshallah, to make sure that we're asking them. And